It's good to know the difference between a sketch model and a presentation model. Sketch models can be used for massing studies. Foam core is not the most popular material in this studio. By the way, the difference between daytime and nighttime shots and interior and exterior. A little bit of an early study about materials and transparencies and sight. An idea about cladding and how the form might vary within a different system of cladding, a kind of environmental situation about how it feels with lighting studies. This is another kind of exaggeration of that with ideas of transparency and wall types, which can be studied in more detail as you go along, and perhaps the way that the building is formed and molded and how those windows and openings might coincide. Here's another study about materiality and cladding on the outside. This project will probably be this will be a very important option. Environmental studies about how it feels to be inside the space, both outside spaces and interior spaces. And just notice the craftsmanship of these models. They're just, simply beautiful. Then here we have another interiors model. Joe Matheson, who helped make these, was an interiors person. So then we start to talk about the materials that we actually buy to use in a model. We're going to talk just a minute about equipment and techniques of model building, but I just like to say my favorite tool is my parallel rule with a steel edge and a steel triangle on a good cutting surface. I think a parallel rule really helps drawing because you've got two hands to do it. But you'll notice there are all kinds of other little tools that help you get that straight edge. Here's a sketch balsa model that's quite good. This is a sketch foam core, but notice on the contour, so sketching in those contours early is quite good. Okay, so this little item allows you to get a square edge off the side of a table. So first of all, you might draw your dimensions out, and you can do this in several different ways. And then make sure that you have a very square edge when you're measuring and cutting. That's a good idea to measure and cut clearly, or measure quite clearly before you cut. I use a scalpel. Some people prefer to use I think you need a couple of different knives actually for different sorts of things. And then you do get a feel for how these go along. You might use several thicknesses of card to get the right thickness of wall, and then the way that you get that opening and you get it very clean, very clear, so that they work together. Or you may try to find a different material. Foam core is such a wonderful material for a study model. I use straight pins when I do it. Because then you can get an edge. Again, here are tools that you need. You should have these in the studio at all times. Make sure you tape down your cutting board edge. That's what this is showing, that surface for cutting. You may want to put a dollop of glue down before you start, just so you have the glue. There are two ways you might go. You might sketch it all out and do what we've shown you, or you might photocopy a section and then cut over that section using a light glue, and then taking it up. Using formwork out of foam core to get a shape is really quite a good method. And then you'll notice that you might use tabs, cut edges. You have to think about where the wall is and what's holding the wall up in place, and so you don't see it. So all these little concealed tabs are quite an important thing. To do that, you might score the cardboard. You might put spacers under something to support it so that you have the height necessary. You notice they've used an old raw sheet. You might make a sandwich panel to get the right thickness. Here's another example of working on an interior. So you might have a model that comes apart, and then so you can open it up. Here's an example of some scoring. So you can remove a piece of the card so that you can get it a little place for the wall to sit inside, so you can get a proper glue edge. Using a couple different kinds of cardboard material may help you. This is building a stair. It's just incredibly precise. So here's the beginning of the model. This is really a study model. But then you can see, he's inserting the roof. He's built the interiors, the kitchen. And now here's a more finished model. I love this model with the contours. And then, really studying the color and the glazing. This is the interior of the model. Again, really understanding the language of the model. Now, there are several Dutch architects that are particularly beautiful model makers, and you might want to get online and explore, who these are, these model makers. So, feel free to do that. Okay, now the next set of models is a set by Claire Heaney, who was a tutor of mine at UWA a few years ago. And she went to, I think it was Belfast University, and for her 5th year she did all of these models, and I think it's very incredible. This is a model of Boston that she did, but I think it's good to just look at these models and study some of the different techniques she's used. These are really wonderful conceptual models that are clear and massing. This is a kind of concept model that's kind of over the top of things. We were talking about zones of diversity or landforms or something. So, I like this fold-out model, these interior carved models. Now, I think Holly's group was talking about doing a model where it's layered, so there might be several layers of information. I think this is really quite a good model to study the relationship between levels and in sight. I think that might be more like what we're trying to do. This one, again, studying kind of transparency. Here are lots of her study models, and I'm showing you these rough models because models start out being rough. There's just no two ways about it, and they're conceptual models, and this is what you need to be starting and doing. And again, here's some of her presentation. I really don't understand all the conceptual ideas behind this, but they may be structural. This is University of Ulster, by the way. And structural models that show how a kind of modular system might be employed or how they might go together. So, then she's done some models just to explore other people's work or the way this feels inside. Although it's rough, it starts to really feel, notice how important the people are in all of these models for scale. And collaging in after the model is done allows you to, really feel the potential for that. So, do a combination of all the things. I think this is incredible. This is her 5th year exhibition. She had a little cubicle that showed all the study models that she had done, for this project. And I think this one is really incredibly beautiful, the carving out. So you can see, you know, the combinations of models all put together. And finally, this is an interiors model that I think, you know, you might be able to do better, but she's beginning to study what that could be. Now, I've just shown a few models by Rose Way in interiors because she was quite interested in beating copper and other wire, you know, other tactile qualities that you might not normally think of in a building, but allows you the freedom to think about it in different ways. So I just thought I'd show you a few of these for screens, for whatever. So, you know, your models don't become too rigid. They do the folding of paper, but the writing inside the paper, so you get a neat, different kind of texture is really kind of fun.